Hello everyone, very good morning. It's a little nippy here in Groningen at 1 degree, but we're holding on. My name's Josh Prada, and if you're watching this video, chances are you're one of my students, and you'll be completing your BA thesis or your MA thesis with me this spring. So I'm going to walk you through the key steps over the next few videos about how to think about a topic, how to think about an appropriate design, and about how to implement that design into a successful research and the writing of your thesis. So let's begin. In today's video, we're going to be thinking about the ideal research topic, and let me break it to you as soon as possible. The best research topic is that research topic that speaks to you as a blooming researcher, as a new researcher. It needs to be something that really captures your imagination, something that really makes you think, this is interesting, I want to spend a few months thinking about this a lot, getting to know about this a lot, reading about it, writing about it, collecting pieces of information that then you can sort of put together and just come up with one possible answer to the puzzle that you have created. Chances are you're going to be directed or supervised or coordinated by someone, and that someone needs to know a thing or two about the topic. At the MA level, we want something a little bit more punchy, a little bit more original. We want you to show that you can do research that speaks not only to your own interests but to the field. And so I'm an applied linguist. I specialize in multilingualism, but at the MA level you may find me supervising theses on gender neutral language across English and Spanish. Even though I'm not necessarily a discourse analyst, I do have the knowledge and the skills to supervise that kind of project at that level, but I would not be that comfortable supervising an MA thesis, looking at that, let alone a PhD. So the bottom of the sort of hierarchy, you can take a bit of freedom, and your professors will be a little bit more open. They might be a little bit more open. Certainly I am to your own interests. At the same time, the higher you go, the more aligned with my own specializations the theme must be. I hope you can hear me, because there's a plane up there. So having said that, how do we think about a research topic? Start by thinking about everything you've been reading about, everything you've been discussing in the different classes you've taken, the different subjects throughout the entire course, throughout the whole program, those conversations you've had with professors or with classmates, what's really sparked your interest. That is, in my opinion, and the way I see it, that's what should really be the little seed that you plant at this kind of stage, the very early stage of choosing your research topic. So a research topic can be actually quite broad, and I would encourage you to, particularly if you're not very sure at all, go broad and then use some office hours or some time with your supervisor to start narrowing things down. So you may begin by something like, I'm very interested in how multilingual people experience fear when using one of their languages in particular contexts. So that's already quite a nice, nicely framed research topic, and at the same time it's broad enough that it allows some input from your advisor so that you can further refine it. And again, I'm talking about my own sort of research expectations and my own approach. There's a person coming. Okay, so I'm back. She was really nice. She has a sweet dog. Okay, so back to our conversation about finding and refining your research theme. I would say start from whatever really gets your interest and your curiosity, because you're going to have to be thinking about this for quite a bit. So first, something you really, really like, something that really captures your imagination. And if you're not at that stage, and let me tell you, after a whole degree, you may be quite tired and a little burnt out. If that's the case, if you feel a little burnt out, in my opinion, the best thing you can do is go to your professor with a few loose ideas. It's completely fine, and I'm talking from my own experience, for you to come to us and say something like, hey, I'm very, very interested in things related to multilingual education, or how teachers teach in classrooms with lots of migrant students, or how to develop better classroom materials for French, but I really don't know what else to do, or how to further refine things. So if you're at that situation, it's completely fine. Share it with your supervisor, certainly share it with me, and we can walk through how to go from this general set of ideas to something actionable. Say you came to us with an idea of researching a Russian classroom and how Russian can be taught in the Netherlands. How can we improve Russian? How can we maybe implement games? So if you come with those ideas, I'd say something like, have you read anything about gamification? What do you feel about the concept of gamification? Do you know gamification theories? Have you read about the psychology of gamification, the more educational aspects of gamification? What is it that we know? And that is the next step. You need to become slightly familiar, and by slightly I mean rather familiar, with what's been done before, so that you have a bedrock to stand on. Rarely will a BA degree or an MA degree be groundbreaking. If it is, absolutely great. I'll be there to support you, to celebrate you, and to make sure we all have a great time working on this project. But at the same time, really don't overthink it too much. Go back to what's been done before, understand what's been done before, and think about, how can I replicate what's been done in the past? We'll talk about replication in the next video as one of the potential methodological frameworks, but think about, can I do the same thing this person has done just by changing this variable here or there? Okay, once you begin to become familiar with that research theme and the topic, you will feel that your early intuitions and curiosities become more and more concrete. You may even feel that what you thought you knew, you no longer know, because other people have done it before, so why am I going to do it? Well, it's a BA thesis, it's an MA thesis. Just because someone else did it before you did it doesn't mean you cannot do it again in a different context and with slightly different sort of variables around it. So really don't overthink it. Now, having said that, make sure you think in terms of feasibility. You want a theme that then becomes a narrower topic, that then becomes a narrower set of research questions, that leads you to something feasible, that leads you to something researchable and something you can actually implement as a study. Okay, so step number one, we said have a curiosity for something general, then move from that general curiosity to something more tangible. Go to the literature as step 3 and have a look at what other people have done before you, and once you know what other people have done before you, you can go ahead and refine those early ideas. I would expect my own students to come to me if they do have questions, or if they do have offshoots of the early ideas. That's the reason why I'm there. I'm there to meet with them every week or two to make sure they're moving forward gradually over the first few weeks. They can be quite messy until you arrive at a more concrete stage where you can approach it and say, okay, now time for design. These stages, these steps are not individual from each other. They may happen on top of each other, and they can actually be quite messy. So it's completely fine if you actually begin by having a look at the literature, by going back to the papers that were assigned to you in class. If you identify ideas that appear in those papers and that really make you go, okay, this would be really interesting. It'd be great to spend, say, 3-4 months working on something like this. It's fine to start there. The most important thing at this first general sort of phase is for you to move from thinking about something that interests you wherever you are in that situation, whether it already interests you a lot to maybe it just captures your imagination marginally in some sort of way, to a point where you are ready to think about this interest in terms of how can I turn it into a research project. One huge recommendation I have from day one: keep a journal, keep a researcher's journal. A researcher's journal is basically a handwritten or typed journal set of pages where you keep track of everything you think, of all the ideas you come across, and how you moved from these early intuitions and curiosities into something more actionable. Now, whenever you have a conversation with me, write how you feel about it, write how you feel about what I said, write your own sort of responses to whatever I have to say, and by looking back at this researcher's journal, you'll see a very nice sort of representation of your trajectory. Now, this is not just for journal, diary keeping sort of purposes. It's important because sometimes you do come up with great ideas after having had a conversation with me while reading something. There may be plenty of reasons why something comes up and you might want to capture it. So many of these ideas that may be just fleeting, momentary ideas may turn into something really interesting that can become the heart of your thesis. So make sure you keep track of it, and then it's a really nice document to have. I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd, but you do your thing. Okay, so how long should it take? I would expect for a student who already comes to me with a very clear interest to be able to start thinking in terms of methodological implementation at some point after the first week. This does not mean collecting data necessarily. This means something, start thinking more in terms of how are we going to collect the data, what might be some of the obstacles we find, what's the ethics sort of application going to look like, what kinds of documents do we need, and we can start thinking in more applied terms at that stage. Now, for other people who might not have very much of an idea from day one, I can see this taking something between a couple of weeks and a month, sometimes a month and a half, and it depends on how much time you actually have. In our case, students have around 4 months to write their theses. It's a fair enough time. More time would be better, less time would absolutely work for other students. It depends on what kinds of theses are considered good theses in your university or in your department. For us, we want something that looks solid, that shows that the student does understand what research looks like in our field, and that showcases some key skills in producing that kind of research. And it can range from critical literature reviews to fully implemented research projects with original data and an original analytical framework. That will also depend on whether you're doing a BA thesis or a master's thesis, whether you're working within the project of your supervisor, and that will... Oh, hi! Hello! Hi! Hi. Hey, go with mama. So yeah, back to our conversation, and I lost my train of thought again. Too many cute dogs. So yeah, basically in some cases you may be working with a professor as part of a research group, as it's my case. You may be working within an established project. Who knows, you may even get paid to do part of that research. You may connect that research with an internship if your program offers that. In our case, we oftentimes do offer internships, and they may in some cases be connected to existing research projects, which streamlines some of these decisions. Okay, so in short, this first stage has 4 steps. Step number 1, have a curiosity or some sort of hunch. Step number 2, think about it in terms of a theme and move into a narrower topic. Number 3, have a look at the existing literature. Number 4, go back to your original ideas and refine them. Good luck. More dogs.